So, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be the last Nintendo game I will support, and you can thank Nintendo for that. They have issued a DMCA to the Dolphin emulator on the Steam platform, but Nintendo has been doing this and actions like it for a very long time, and it seems like they think they own emulation, or emulation that has to do with their games, which shows some kind of warped entitlement with this company. And with these actions, it seems like Nintendo is pushing customers and just the general public away thousands by thousands, going as far as to ruin people's lives for supporting emulation and sharing their games online. Now sure, giving away your games on a website to people that have emulators could have some kind of correlation, but I'm surprised that the excitement for Tears of the Kingdom wasn't overshadowed by the straight up fear that Nintendo is spreading with emulator takedowns. Now I'm not sure if Nintendo understands this, but emulation is completely legal, and the fact that they're putting out DMC takedowns for something completely created separately from a Nintendo product is completely wrong, and I don't even think that's legal. And what makes it worse, they're doing this all for the namesake of the Nintendo Switch Online retro game lineup, which is essentially a rental service. You can't own any of these games you get in the Nintendo Switch Online arcade, or whatever they call it. These are just essentially rentals, so they're not even selling a product you can officially own without a particular subscription. It's almost the equivalent of Netflix going to a website to take down a parody video of a movie that was on their platform a few years back. It just makes no sense why they would go after the emulator and not the websites that are giving away free copies of their games. Going after the emulator itself is just cruel and makes no sense. Emulators are mainly for people that already own the product and just want to play their specific games on the PC platform, because I believe they earned that right since they did make the emulator or supported the emulator to get enough feedback to be refined enough to play those games. And I get the blurry, barely visible gray area here, which Nintendo is harping on. They believe that emulators will enable people to go to those websites to get those free copies of their games, which they can't stop at all. And they serviced a DMCA takedown on a platform like Steam because it is quite a big platform and it will get a lot of attention. So you can't go to just any shady site anymore. You can actually go and get a Dolphin emulator on Steam itself, but not as of right now because they took it down for the foreseeable future. But it seems like Nintendo plans to capitalize on their classic games with Nintendo Switch Online. But I think it's safe to say the main reason anyone even cares about those games is because of the continued support of emulation. Emulation has effectively kept those games and their legacy afloat, while Nintendo actively ignored it for a long time. And I'm not saying those games should stay on emulators or nowhere else. I'm saying Nintendo lacks respect for those emulators and the loyal fans that worked on them, and they would go as far as to damn a person's life because they shared their retro collection with people that just wanted to play it because those specific titles weren't even accessible to anyone else. And sure, Nintendo owns the right to release those games whenever they want in any form that they wish, and it seems the trend with them is that they don't need help from anyone else making a legacy or making a specific title popular because it already is. But I don't think that's completely true. I think titles like Advanced Wars and more of the niche games were accelerated by emulators, and the idea of having them in full HD was already realized with a lot of emulators, and people who support these emulators most likely will support the official re-release of them because that's all they want, to the point that they will work night and day for free to play these titles, not just because they want to steal it. It's simply for the fact that they want to play it. And if they have it readily available on something like a Nintendo Switch, then you bet your ass they're going to pay for it. And there's some things that a company shouldn't do, and for a long while in the course of these last 5 or 6 years, Nintendo has been hovering over the territory of shouldn't. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I think attacking emulation is a very dangerous thing because you are directly attacking some of your most loyal fans and not even realizing it. While I'm sure Nintendo sees their loyal fans who make emulators directly attacking them, but it's just a form of creativity and another way to play those games that they love. And for those reasons, I'm proud to boycott Nintendo until they stop everything they're doing with these DMC takedowns and attack on emulation in general. Tears of the Kingdom is an incredible game, and I've enjoyed it immensely. But honestly, after hearing all these horrible things that Nintendo has been doing, it's been kind of poisoning my experience with the game. Knowing a company that actually actually doesn't care about people and would ruin someone's life just for a 40-year-old game or games that people forgot about for the most part. Made me look at Tears of the Kingdom as something that Nintendo could eventually use to ruin someone else's life who just wanted to play it in 40 years when they most likely won't be able to access it because Nintendo has it behind a paywall, rental service, or just simply forgot about it like the rest of their classic titles, or is continuing to drip feed it to their loyal fans. Nintendo has effectively made their games into legal weapons that I'm personally not gonna touch with a 20-yard thumbstick. If you still want to support Nintendo regardless of their horrible actions, by all means. But honestly, the right course of action would be for their fans and customers to talk with their wallets and to just boycott their systems and their games to show that they are crossing the line and they have gone too far. Emulation is for people to appreciate older titles, and it has been for a long time. People that use emulators are most likely the same people that will support Nintendo if they drip feed and re-release these titles. But Nintendo doesn't seem to care about that fact, and they don't seem to realize how harsh gamers can be. But seeing that there hasn't been some kind of boycott yet just proves Nintendo fans are more pushovers than any other fan base that I've seen. I mean, Super Smash Bros. Is like the most broken game in history, and there's a huge following for that, just because it has some characters they like. But you will see Nintendo fans defend it up and down, left and right, just because it's a product from Nintendo. But with the legal dilemmas, I'm surprised Nintendo fans are just ignoring this and remaining to support Nintendo blindly. If Sony did something like this, their fan base would assault them with tweets and boycotts in seconds. Xbox fans would take a little time, but honestly, I've never seen Nintendo fans attack Nintendo for anything, regardless of what kind of stuff they do. But this isn't meant to attack Nintendo fans. I'm just saying that there is a boycott in order, or that should happen sometime soon because of how out of control Nintendo is currently. I'm personally done with their bullshit. During these past 6 years, that was enough for me to realize that they're not a good business or honest business. The only thing desperately holding them back is their extremely loyal fan base. Even if you're a YouTuber making Nintendo content, if you're not a part of their special club, they'll most likely give you a good old copyright claim or strike. Nintendo most likely sees their fan base as customers and absolutely nothing else, and maybe a potential enemy if you're overseas like most American Nintendo YouTubers. It's clear that they just don't care about the community and the inner workings of it to even try to understand how important emulation is, and I think neither should their fans. We shouldn't care what kind of stuff they're coming out with if they don't care what kind of stuff we're representing. And this all came from that diluted self-talk that a lot of Nintendo fans used to repeat over and over again, and how they represent Nintendo like they never did or will do anything wrong. That kind of talk is dangerous because here we are at a state of company decay to the point Nintendo is attacking everyone and everything related to them, most likely believing what they're doing is absolutely right. And with that bestowed sense of righteousness, their fans have mistakenly gave to them over the course of a lot of years. The truth is, it is obvious that Nintendo and its fans are just damaged. And it's mostly to do with Nintendo and their practices, seeming to go to the old Japanese times where other ideologies are just completely wrong, and they'll mark you down or execute you if you think or even seem like you're thinking otherwise. They're doing such a great job of closing off all of their content from any content creator or anyone that's willing to be creative with their products, to the point they're sort of boycotting themselves in a way. Why don't we just let them get that head start and meet them at the end with another boycott? I think they've done a great job with Nintendo Switch in the first 2 or 3 years, but after that it was kind of a slow slog. They don't care that people want a Nintendo Switch Pro, most likely because they see it as a lose-lose situation with the hardware and the fact that they most likely can't meet hardware demand or expectation. And seeing how it's gone with some of Nintendo's best YouTubers, it seems like saying anything negative will get you on their bad side for one reason or another. They're like a dodgy manager that doesn't tell you why they're firing you. It's simple. They just don't like you. That's the truth. It's a shame because they make great games, mostly Mario games, but great games nonetheless. Eventually they do make an amazing Zelda game, but it's unfortunately overshadowed by skewed business perspectives and cruel behaviors. Nintendo is overdue for a boycott. I want a lot of other people to really take in this perspective of what the company is doing to any creative part of their community. Even their Super Smash community is hurting year by year because of the lack of support that Nintendo gives them. This company is completely overdue for a good boycott. I mean, it's taking like 10 years for Metroid Prime 4 after its initial announcement to come out. Nintendo is just cheap. They don't want to make anything fast because it's going to take more money and more manpower. There's so many horror stories of people working for Nintendo and just regretting their experiences and not being able to live with the decisions they made while working for this company. I'm not sure what good people see from Nintendo by this point. Sure, we get a lot of experiences from Tears of the Kingdom, but if you want to create anything, just play Minecraft. That's apparently a great game. There's really no difference. Both games are meant for kids. And sure, Tears of the Kingdom is a 10 out of 10 experience, yes. But Nintendo kind of just ruined it. And a lot of people say that there is a quality control of some sorts in the company, but there have been a lot of lackluster Switch games recently. And have you seen the eShop lately? That completely lacks quality control. They're not what they used to be. Now, when you go to games like The Legend of Zelda, it's being made by a developer that has a ton of experience. You can't just wipe that experience away with a lack of quality control. And with all the re-releases that they're coming out with, there's not really a lot of creativity there. I think the company just needs a good reboot. And since the CEO was replaced, respectively, the company just hasn't been the same. But that's usually the case when it comes to new CEOs and presidents. Sooner or later, you're going to realize that it's just not the same company. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let me know what you guys think about Nintendo. And are you going to boycott them? I think if we start this, then all of that legal crap that they're doing will most likely be put on pause. We just have to speak to them in a way they understand. With the moolah, with the wallet, because they really don't understand any other language. Nor do they care what we say to them. And thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Later.